Poor girl helps a wounded Hell's Angel. Next day 100 Hell's Angels line up outside her house. The scorching afternoon sun shimmered over the quiet country road when 12-year-old Mira Jones saw the motorcycle crash. It was the kind of moment that freezes the world, trapping the breath in your chest. The massive red bike lay on its side, chrome glinting under the light, and beside it sat a heavily built biker, wounded, bleeding, and struggling to remain upright. Most people would have felt fear. Most would have run, or pretended they hadn't seen. But Mira wasn't like most people. Barely catching her own heartbeat, she dropped her worn backpack, sprinted forward, and knelt beside the injured stranger, setting off a chain of events that would shake her entire neighborhood and change her life forever. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional stories like this to life. Mira lived in a tiny, weather-beaten house at the far edge of a forgotten town, a place where people never had enough, where hope came in tiny pieces, and where she, a skinny girl in thrift store clothes, was often invisible to the world. Her mother worked 2 jobs, and Mira spent her summers wandering the outskirts of town with no real destination, other than trying to silence the loneliness that came from having so little. But loneliness also taught her to see what others overlooked. And that day, what she saw was a man in real pain. The biker's muscular arms were scraped and bleeding, his forehead cut deeply enough for blood to run down his cheek. His breath came in uneven gasps, and his leather vest clung to him as if it were the only strength he had left. Despite his intimidating size and the deep scars that suggested a rough life, he looked vulnerable in a way that stirred something inside Mira. She wasn't afraid. She simply felt the desperate need to help. Carefully, she offered him a paper cup of water she'd brought from home. His gloved hand trembled when he took it. Up close, she could see exhaustion etched into his features, exhaustion that didn't belong solely to the crash. He looked like a man who had been carrying burdens for far too long. She sat with him until help arrived, quietly keeping him company, handing him water, cleaning his cuts with the small tissues she always carried because she knew her own scraped knees well. He thanked her in a broken, grateful voice that revealed more humanity than his rugged appearance ever could. But what Mira didn't know, what she couldn't possibly have imagined, was who he truly was or what would happen when he told his brothers about her. That evening, when she returned home, she didn't mention the biker to her mother. Life was hard enough without adding extra worries. Their fridge was half empty, the overdue bills lay like silent threats on the counter, and her mother's tired eyes told Mira she was fighting battles no one else saw. Mira went to bed thinking only about the wounded man and hoping he was safe. The next morning began like any other. Mira put on the same faded shirt she loved, tied her shoes, and stepped outside with a sigh, until her breath froze. Her little front yard, usually empty except for a cracked bird bath, was filled with motorcycles. Rows and rows of them. Gleaming chrome, polished paint, leather saddlebags. They lined the street as far as she could see. There were men everywhere, huge, intimidating figures with tattoos, chains, and heavy boots. Their vests bore the unmistakable emblem that even Mira recognized, the Hell's Angels. Neighbors peered through blinds, some whispering, some terrified. It looked like the entire world had gathered outside her house. But when the men saw Mira, something astonishing happened. They didn't act hostile or threatening. Instead, like soldiers parting for royalty, they stepped aside, forming a quiet, respectful path. And at the end of it stood the man she had helped. His head was bandaged now, his cuts cleaned, but his eyes were gentle, soft in a way she hadn't noticed before. He stepped forward with a kind of emotion that didn't fit his dangerous appearance. Then, in front of everyone, he told her mother the truth. He explained how Mira had saved him. How she had sat with him when he felt himself drifting. How she hadn't judged him or feared him. How, in a world where people crossed the street when a biker approached, this little girl had shown pure, human kindness. He said she reminded him of a daughter he once had but lost long ago. One by one, the bikers approached Mira, not to scare her, but to thank her. They handed her bags of food, envelopes with money, cartons of supplies, toys she never dreamed of owning. Not charity, they insisted, but gratitude. They piled so many groceries on her porch that her mother burst into tears. These feared men, with their rough voices and dark clothing, stood quietly as a mother cried from the overwhelming relief of knowing her family would finally, even if just for a while, have enough. For the first time, Mira saw her mother look hopeful. The biker she had helped took off his vest and placed it in Myra's hands, not as a symbol of joining them, but as a symbol of honor. He told her she had done something most adults would never dare to do. She saw a human being where the world only saw a threat. She chose compassion instead of fear. Days passed, and the story spread across the town. People whispered about the poor girl who had moved the hearts of the Hells Angels. Teachers treated Mira differently, with sudden respect. Her mother found better work because a biker recommended her to someone he knew. Life began to shift in ways Mira never expected, not because she wanted anything, but because she gave something so simple, yet so rare. Kindness. And in the quiet moments, when Mira sat on her porch looking at the empty road where the motorcycles had once stood, she realized she had discovered something powerful. Even the toughest hearts could be touched, even the darkest lives could be softened, and even someone as small as her could create a change she never imagined. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means the world and helps us continue creating meaningful stories. Special request: before you go, comment below, kindness still exists.